There are rumors swirling that Darian Devries might go home, but I'm here to dispel that rumor because I don't believe it one bit.
You are Locked On West Virginia, your daily podcast on the West Virginia Mountaineers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, guys? Welcome back in. My name is Mountaineer Paul. I am your host. This is Locked On West Virginia. A little bit later today. I don't know what the internet's going to do. You guys know my broadband goes shrinkage in the evening time, so we'll see what happens. I've been trying to record earlier, but today did not permit. It's Valentine's Day, and I had stuff to do. So, yes, I have a life outside of recording sometimes when I choose to. Thanks for making Locked On West Virginia your first listen, guys, and being an everyday listener on the Locked On Podcast Network. We talk about your team, the Mountaineers, every single day. It's Friday, man, so this is going to be brought to you by FanDuel. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and right now, new customers can bet $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. And I think tomorrow night, is it tomorrow? I think it's tomorrow at 2 will be the time to do it, baby. I think West Virginia gets 8.5 going into Waco. I like West Virginia tomorrow. Both teams are really bad over the last 6 games, or at least average to bad. So I think West Virginia gets a nice dub coming out. But before that happens, I got this from Boyce and Morgantown first. This is the first place I saw it. Then that caused me to do more research. But so if you want the original, at least what I consider the original place I got it, Boyce and Morgantown posted an article today talking about West Virginia head coach Darian Devries' link to potential job opening. And then in there he links, I think, the original video, the original article. So, and it's basically it's just Brad's opinion, but I'm going to go to the original article and kind of talk about what they said, because I think Brad just basically quoted it anyway. He gave his own opinion too, but I'm just want to read what they're talking about. So this is clutchpoints.com. It's a Sports Illustrated relay. It's one of those where they're affiliated with Sports Illustrated. I think I've included everybody that had something to say about this now, so we can move on. All right, so my apologies. That's actually a different website. Let me get to the actual. So it's Iowa Hawkeyes on SI. My apologies. That was a whole different website. That's for my Baylor preview. So clutch points is not the thing. Okay, so the heading here is Iowa Hawkeyes linked to potential Fran McCaffrey replacement. This is the one. And it talks about, how it's gotten stale right here in Iowa right now. And so Riley Donald of Hawkeyes Wired, as shared by Yahoo Sports, has suggested that West Virginia Mountaineers head coach Darian Devries could make sense. It's a connection to the state of Iowa and has been a good coach with his current team. First, he's an Iowa native. Darian Devries hails from Appleton, Iowa. Devries knows Iowa. He played at Northern Iowa and was the coach at Drake from 18 to 24. He knows the recruiting landscape, and he knows how to win games, Donald wrote. In his career, DeVries is 163 and 62. He was 150 and 55 at Drake, while leading them to the NCAA tournament 3 times from 2020 to 2024. In his first season at West Virginia, after he signed a 5-year deal that pays him $3 million a year. His buyout is not a set number, but rather than West Virginia would be owed 37.5% of the remaining contract. DeVries could be an intriguing candidate. He would bring a much different voice, which could be a good thing for the Hawkeyes to make a coaching change. The program would have to be convinced that that it is making an upgrade. Is DeVries that kind of coach? Perhaps he could be. Of course, this is all speculation at this point in time, and there's still a good chance that McCaffrey could be back on the sidelines for Iowa next season. However, if the Hawkeyes want to shake some things up and try to get back into legitimate contention, making a change could be a needed move. Okay, so that went a little longer than I expected, but let's dispel this right now. I'm just going to say it like I know people closer to that situation than most of you, and you know, I had some conversations with a few different people about this, and it would be pretty shocking if he went to. I know people want to say it would get him back home. I get that, and there is some appeal to that. But from what I'm told, they're pretty damn happy where they're at. They are homesick, but they that can be remedied in the off season, right? Um, I think that West Virginia is a better job. Let's just start there. West Virginia, even though in year one, did he get as much NIL as he wanted? No, he didn't. Would he get more at Iowa? No, he wouldn't. As a matter of fact, that program is in the tank right now when it comes to basketball NIL. I talked to a few guys about that today, and so their basketball program is kind of in a place where we don't really know, and revenue share going forward, I guess, can help. But I mean, if you're talking about everything is everything and everything's equal, which program is better over the course of time, Iowa or West Virginia? It's not like in football where you would say the Big Ten is a better step up because you're going to be guaranteed more playoff spots and all that kind of thing. The Big 12 is a tougher league, absolutely, but I think you can build a winner here in West Virginia in the Big 12. And I think DeVries is the guy to do it. I think he sees in year one what he's able to do here, and the kind of support that they've been getting, although it hasn't always been 100% consistent. But first of all, I want to answer a question in the article too. Is he an upgrade over McCaffrey? I think so. McCaffrey's been really good there at Iowa at times. I mean, they've had some really good teams over the years. So I don't want to seem like it's, like it's not close, because it's close. Like, if Darian Devries has the kind of career that Fran McCaffrey's had, that's a good career. Like, if you go look at what McCaffrey's done at Iowa, it's been impressive. He's kind of like their Huggins a little bit. Not quite like to our now, not quite, but he's loved there. And so for me, I just think that this ain't happening. I would be surprised if it did. The only thing you can say that's positive about it is that they get to go home. Yes, his brother is his brother's royalty in Iowa. You look at what Jared DeVries did at Iowa, and he's probably one of the 10 greatest players in school history. So absolutely, that's a factor. But Darren didn't play at Iowa. He played at Northern Iowa. Dusty didn't play at Iowa. He did at first, then he transferred to Northern Iowa. So it's it's like it's not even his alma mater. It's just from the state of Iowa. I think they all grew up rooting for Iowa when Jared was there. I don't know how much that still is a thing for them, but I mean, being home is great and all that. But I think, you're talking about this guy's career, and he has shown over and over again that he is willing to play it a little bit slower, right? If he's going to move, I would say if I'm Darren DeVries, I'm not moving to Iowa after year one at West Virginia, although one argument that I've made against my argument right now is if there's a time to do it, it's after year one. You don't want to wait till after year 2, 3, or 4 where you're finally getting established. You've got a coaching staff, you've got a recruiting base, you got all this going on. So, and that's another thing. Like, there are guys on this staff that may not want to go to Iowa or may not want to do that. So, like, you're having to rebuild a lot. Tucker, it's like, can he have consistency here? Like, you're going to have to drag your son to another place. To me, that just doesn't sound like beneficial to Tucker. Like, you're giving him new coaches, probably a few new coaches, a new strength staff, a new nutritionist, like a lot of different stuff going on there. So while it may be home, it's still different, and it's like rebuilding again. And why do you want to rebuild again at a lesser program unless you're just really that attached to the state of Iowa? And I don't know Darren well enough to say that he is, but I have spoken to people close to that situation that say not happening, at least right now. Now, if the job comes open and the offer comes, absolutely, I think he considers it. But do I think ultimately he goes? No. I think West Virginia, first of all, there's a lot of speculation going on about a an extension for him, and I'd be kind of surprised if that didn't happen pre anything happening at Iowa. You want to make that as hard as possible for anybody to get Darren away. And here's another thing: there's a guy at Drake right now, I think in McCollum, that would be a great fit for Iowa as well. And certainly if Darren Devries goes to Iowa or somewhere else, I think McCollum would be our number one target. So like what he's done in year one, I think those of us that kind of wanted him before we knew how good Devries was have been proven right. Ben McCollum is the real deal. And it'd have been really interesting to see what he had done here. But like I said, man, I think Darren DeVries ain't going nowhere. Nothing to worry about. It's one of those things where people are going to speculate because he's a hot commodity, and it's great for clicks. But at the end of the day, there's no substance to it outside of he's going home. Other than that, which going home is a big deal, I'll give you that. West Virginia's a better program. We got better facilities. We have better NIL. We're going to do full revenue share. They're in a better conference. Like there's literally no reason to do it other than just going home. So while that may be if and the thing in Tucker being here, I don't know. I haven't decided whether I think that helps or hurts it. I think being that he's having this off-season surgery, dragging him to another program and like having him wear just another jersey, like it could either be a plus or a negative for them. And that's a personal question I don't know the answer to. So it's an interesting story, and we'll definitely keep an eye on it. If he does end up leaving, it would suck. It would be really heartbreaking because I think DeVries could, honest to God, build himself into a Rich Rodriguez type character or, even a Don Nehlen type character for the basketball program here, to where he would go down as legendary and put himself in the conversation with Bob Huggins by the time it's all over with. I think he's got that kind of chops. He's only 42 or 43. I believe in Darian Devries and what he's done this year. Even if we falter down the stretch here, I think our team is running out of gas a little bit. So I don't think it's on him. What he's done from a coaching perspective to have this team at 15 wins anyway is truly remarkable. And, if they just miss out or something like that, I don't think it's on him. I think it's, it's just a culmination of issues. So I love Darren DeVries personally as a coach, and I think we're good to go there. And I don't see him going anywhere. Up next on Locked On West Virginia, guys, let's talk about that game. I got something flying around behind me here. Let's talk about that game tomorrow, man. It's West Virginia. It's Baylor. It's the biggest game of the year. Who do I think is going to win, man? I think that's an important question, and let's talk about it next. This is Locked On West Virginia. Stick around. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by Factor Meals. Looking to optimize your nutrition this year, Factor makes eating well easy with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals that are fresh, never frozen, ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences every week, you can customize your meals to fit your lifestyle, whether it's Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Plus, Factor even offers wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, and grab-and-go snacks to keep you fueled all day long. I love Factor. I love how it takes the stress out of meal planning, and I recently tried their Protein Plus meals, and they were packed with flavor, man. They kept me full throughout the day, lost some weight. The convenience is unbeatable. There's no prep, no mess, just great food in a few minutes. If you eat smart with Factor, you can get started right now at factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 to get 50% off, and use lockedoncollege50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's lockedoncollege50 off at factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 off for 50%. And don't forget, free shipping straight to your mailbox, baby. And we return in segment 2. You know what we do. We crack a do in segment 2, right? Let's talk about it. Let me get a drink. West Virginia heads to Waco for an important matchup with the Baylor Bears. FanDuel has this Let me get back to it. Let's see. All right. Let me exit out of this. Let me exit out of that. Too much stuff up here. Let me exit out of that too. All right. So both teams are 15-9. Six. Baylor is 7-6. West Virginia is 6-7 in the Big 12. This is a really tightly. This is a close. This is like one of the tighter matchups of the year for me. Like looking at it, the full body of work from both teams. Baylor certainly had a much higher ceiling preseason, hadn't lived up to the billing. West Virginia comes into this half, FanDuel plus 8.5, minus 115 odds, 290 up, plus 290 on the money line. Baylor obviously is minus 8.5 and minus 105, minus 375 on the money line. Overs are the 133.5 here. The under 133.5. Tip is at 2:00 on ESPN. 2. So looking at Baylor, obviously they are one of the teams that, before the year started, you would have put in that top 3 of the conference. You have Houston, you've got Kansas, and you probably would have had Baylor in that conversation. And they just haven't quite lived up to that billing. They lost a close game to BYU lately as well. And, there's just a lot of similarities to us and them. First of all, BJ Edgecombe is one of the better guards in the conference, and so is Roberto Wright. They really play well together. And you got Jaden Nunn, who does a little bit of everything, handling the ball, assists. He gets good. He's a rebounding guard. Then, obviously Norchad Omier, probably, their best big. He gets it done in the paint, scoring a lot for them, rebounding a lot for them. And then they've obviously got Ojinwuna, who can also rebound it. And they are a tough squad to beat. Obviously, Scott Drew is among the best coaches in America year after year. You can make the case that he is the second best coach in the conference. I don't think that's really a crazy thing to say, although, man, I'll tell you what, there is a few other guys in this league that are really good. I'm not going to lie, but I have a hard time deciding between a few guys. But Grant McCaslin for me is rising fast up the ladder, and what Texas Tech is doing this year is pretty amazing. They might run away with the conference if it weren't for Houston. So anyway, you look at Baylor, looking at their overall resume, going back to a few weeks here, like they lost barely. Like you look at the beginning of the year, they started out with the win over St. John. So everybody was like, heck yeah, they're back. They're the same squad. And then they've got losses to Tennessee. They got losses to UConn. They lost to Iowa State big. They lost to Arizona. Like they've lost to a lot of the good teams. They beat Kansas just like we did. They lost to Texas Tech pretty bad. They lost to Houston, but they do have a couple good wins on the resume. They also lost to BYU. But this is an absolute winnable game for us on the road. I think this is a game where who is going to make a difference outside of the usual suspects for West Virginia in this game. Well, I think there's a couple guys, man, and another thing I want to point out as well. That was the most physical game of the year, last game against BYU, in my opinion. And Javon Small and both he and Sincere Harris both got really hard falls in that game. So I wonder how our guys are coming into this. And Javon's been a warrior for us all year. I just can't believe he's still got stamina remaining, man. I mean, look, I get it. It's not like he's up 24 hours a day playing 7 days a week, but this takes a toll on your body. And I think he's showing signs I've seen the last 3 to 4 weeks of being maybe even injured. I don't know this for a fact, but he just doesn't look quite the same. There's a lot of attention going his way too, but I just think it's maybe a stamina issue going. I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to read too far into it. But this is a game where I think Jonathan Powell has to show up on the road in this game and uncondense the lane. We just don't have a guy outside of he and Hansberry. Yesupu is turning into that, and maybe he can, but Yesupu doesn't play a lot with Javon. They do some. They did last game, but like sometimes they got to need to use him to rest Javon as well, so that we still have some scoring punch. But what I like is when we move Javon off the ball and use Yesupu or Tenor to bring it up. But in this game, I think it's Jonathan Powell, man. I think he's got to be the secondary scorer in this specific game because Baylor, it's they play such a high level of defense at home. So I look at this game like we need to get the lane uncongested so that Sincere and Javon can get to the rim and maybe throw some lobs up even for Andre and company. And if Monty Hansberry continued to shoot it a little better than he has or like he has, that would be great too. So there's a lot that we need to happen here on the road. I think it's a winnable game. This is not the typical Baylor team even 2-3 years ago where you're like, it's going to be so hard. Like this is a team that's beatable. So I am looking forward to it. Like I said earlier, it's a must-win game. I look at this as a must-win game now. And I wouldn't have said that a few weeks ago. But recent history, I mean, you look at it, going back to Arizona State, we got the win over Iowa State. We thought, man, 25 wins for this team. And you would have told, like, I was looking at the schedule, like, okay, Houston's a loss, but Arizona State, Kansas State, Cincinnati, TCU, Utah, BYU are all winnable games. I didn't expect this to go 0-2, 1-2, 2-2, 2-3, 3-3. Yeah, it's 3-4 over our last 7 games, and like that wasn't the route I thought we would go. I thought maybe we would be, 5-2 or something, but not 3-4. And like, we still got a couple really tough games left. This one at Baylor is a tough game. I don't think it's as tough as the Texas Tech game or the one at BYU now because BYU is much better than I thought they were. Although I feel like we were the better team the other night. We got screwed out of that one. I was still griping about that one, y'all. So keys to the game, though, let me give you those really quick. Where we at? Let's go to break first. On the other end, I'll give you my keys to the game and my prediction. Be right back, guys. This is Locked On West Virginia. And this episode of Locked On West Virginia is going to be brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in than on FanDuel, which is America's #1 sports book. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off and want to be in the fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. For example, I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting, whether I'm backing my team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch 3. I never feel like I missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. You don't have to wait around. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets. That's if you win your first $5 bet. You have to visit FanDuel.com to join, and the FanDuel.com for your one shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the National Basketball Association. It's segment 3. What's up, y'all? Let me get another drink really quick. My mouth gets dry on these shows. So, keys to the game. Okay, so I've got at least tie or stay close in the rebounding margins. I think that's extremely important in this game for West Virginia. in my opinion. I think it's, it's one of those things where on the offensive boards, West Virginia's been really beat up here lately. I think this is a game where they need to get close in rebounding margin and kind of punch above their weight on the road. Number two is keep the crowd quiet. I think this, on the road, Baylor's a team that has a great home court advantage and one of the better in the conference when you really like they have a great home court and it's very underrated. And I think keeping their people out of it will because Baylor, when they're going running and doing well, they do it on the defensive end that turns into offense for them. And I think keeping them quiet in the crowd will take that energy away from the defense because it's a grind against West Virginia. So there is that rock fight kind of game that you can get into here. It kind of benefits us. Number three is get back to playing elite defense. I think West Virginia has fallen off of that. BYU got several buckets at the rim towards the end of that game the other night, and this hasn't looked like the same defense turning people over as it did against Iowa State and others. Got to happen. And then last but not least, somebody got to step up outside of Javon Small. I know it's an obvious one, but it's going to be that's like one of those keys you might as well just schedule it for every game. Every game has to have that kind of thing going on because we just need it to happen, man. Like we don't have another guy to step up. So I think West Virginia wins this game. I just believe in this team still. I'm not out on these guys, and their backs are against the wall now. This is a game you cannot lose, guys. You can and still make the tournament, but like you don't want to because you're staring down the barrel at a Cincinnati team that's playing its very best basketball of the season right now. Like if you look at what Cincinnati's done right now, Jizzle James and those guys, man, they have been playing really well. They just stomped Utah and BYU back-to-back games and UCF. Like since we beat them, boy, they got a fire lit under their ass because they beat UCF, BYU, Utah in back-to-back games. Those are all teams that are similar to us, and they've stomped them. Jizzle James has turned into one of the best guards in the conference over the last few weeks. Against Utah, he had 25 points, six assists, 2 rebounds. He didn't even score against us. So sometimes the player just wakes up and realizes, I got to take control of this. Against BYU, Jizzle James had 24 points and 3 assists. So, and we have great perimeter defenders, don't get me wrong. And then what did he do against – he had 18 points, 3 assists, or 3 rebounds and 2 assists against Utah as well. So, like, he's come on really strong. Cincinnati could be peaking right now. And this game that I thought was like a win because of how we did them on the road, I'm worried about it now. It's not the same. Like, we might be screwed if we lose this game tomorrow night. Like, I'm not trying to be too dramatic here, but looking down the barrel at Baylor, I'm on the wrong one here. Looking down the barrel at Baylor, Cincinnati, and Texas Tech, you put yourself in a position to where you got to go 4-0 to win to get in the tournament towards the end of the year, in my opinion. If you lose the next 3 games, the seeding, you're going to take a big hit in seeding, and you're going to have to go probably 3 or 4-0 to get. You're going to have to go 4-0, in my opinion. Right now, I think we get them with 18 wins. But if we lose like 3 in a row coming up or something crazy, I think that would hurt us worse than if they were spread out. And I think we would need to win the last 4, which is TCU, BYU, Utah, and UCF. That's just really hard to do, even though the 2 we need at home are, well, actually, no. We're on the road at BYU. Utah's at home. TCU's at home. And UCF's on the road. So our last 4 games are 2 at home, 2 on the road. This is the most important game of the year. Like I said earlier, it's a 2 p.m. tip in Waco, so it's going to be like noon for our guys. We played a lot of late games this year. Like there's a lot kind of going against us if you look at it. But I still believe, and I have to, like as a fan first, I have to believe still in this team after what they did earlier in the year. And I know Devries has gotten through to them and has got them motivated to play this game because Cincinnati's coming. They play Iowa State tomorrow. Cincinnati beats Iowa State. They might officially be the second hottest team in the league behind Texas Tech. Like that's insane, guys. Who would have thought that after we drubbed them like we did a few weeks ago, where they didn't look like they'd hit anybody that could do anything? It's shocking. So Cincinnati has woken up and is no longer the pushover we thought they were. But maybe West Virginia is a bad matchup for them. That was kind of what I was thinking about the other day. Then this obviously Texas Tech TCU, but I think West Virginia wins this game. I'll say 71-63. I think West Virginia wins by 7 or 8. Free throws at the end. It's close to the end, like always. Heart Attack City. But I like the Mountaineers in a close one on the road against Baylor. Take the Mountaineers and the points tomorrow for sure. There's no way Baylor wins this by 10 or more, in my opinion, unless they just shoot the lights out from it. But I don't see that happening. And we'll see what happens, man. It's an important game. It's an important time in the basketball season. For those that think Devries might go to Iowa, maybe you're secretly rooting against West Virginia these last few games so that we can keep him, I've heard a couple of people say that. Like, we know he's a great coach. He's already proven that. The team's hurt. They're tired. Like, they've done all they could this year. Maybe if they just barely miss the tournament, he won't be so sought after. I think everybody else knows that too. So, like, the secret's already out. DeVries can coach. So, thanks for joining, guys. I appreciate you. We're at the end. Thanks for making Locked On your first listen and for being a part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We talk about your team every single day, the Mountaineers. Don't forget, guys, Locked On Big 12, Drake, he does his thing, man. He continuously just puts up huge numbers over there on that show, and can't be more proud of him. I mean, I'm proud of the fact that he is affiliated with, me as a coworker and all that. Trying to find something on my screen. My screen's big. Sometimes things hide from me on it. Let's see. Where is it? I'm going to try to invite you guys to something really quick if I can find it on here. Let's see. Nope, not seeing it. I'm going to have to figure out how to invite people to my Discord on this computer because I just can't find the invite button on here. And every time I look, I'm always live on here. So, yeah, it's one of those things, I guess. Let's see. Family did it. I'll remember next time. But if you guys want to get news early, like I did for the guys over on, like when we did some of the recruits or the Pat news or anything like that, make sure you come find my Discord, and we'll figure out a way to get you guys the link. Other than that, man, I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for joining. At Paul Mountaineer on X. Make sure you find me there. That's at Paul Mountaineer. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great, great, great Valentine's Day, especially you, Raven. And I'll see you guys later. I'm out.